Hello, everyone. We are back with a new episode in our Educator Conversation series. And today I'm really excited to jump down to Missouri and be joined by Jordan Burns, who's in his 10th year at Nixa High School. He's a business teacher who has led their student broadcast program and sports media program to grow and impact over 50 students. Welcome to the show, Jordan.
Hello, guys. Happy to be here.
Yeah, I love the background. You've got a game tonight we're recording, so appreciate you taking the time here. We just started working together this fall and excited to showcase your program down in Nixa. As we start all of these conversations, we like to dive right in for teachers who are starting programs. And even if they've got a program, we really love this question. What are the three most important things you think a broadcast media teacher needs to know when starting a program?
For me, I think the biggest thing is just get it started. Um, when we started, we had one camera. We had a student who was assisting me. It was really, we've been probably streaming for a while now, but it was someone at district office who just had a camera back and forth. So we brought on a student to run it, got a couple announcers from the community, and then transitioned those guys out. And then now blew it up to now it takes about 13 kids to do a full production for us, and that's what we'll take on the road tonight. So, but that's
Wow.
just the biggest thing. Just get started. You can start small. I mean, even if it's a huddle cam or just some little camera there, get started. People will notice it, start watching it, get excited about it, and then as you continue to evolve it, they will go full force behind you like they have here, and it's been an exciting time.
How did you go from one camera to where you're at now? Was it a each year you kind of added? We've talked to a lot of educators and they go, "What's one thing we can add to this?" Was that your approach?
Yep. So yeah, that's exactly what it was. I wish I could have told you I had $1 million and I bought it all at once and started off the ground running. Not the case. We went from one camera to two cameras, so we thought we were really impressive having a wide shot and a tight shot. And then one year we got a wireless camera, and we actually debuted it for the Jamboree. And so we played it preseason on our video board, and everyone was like, "What in the world is that? That is awesome!" So the school district decided, "Hey, we need two more of those." So they bought them right there on the spot for us. And so for our first week that season, I think that was 2 years ago, maybe, we had five cameras. So we went from two little cameras to five, and then we started mixing in some graphics, adding the scoreboard, all that fun stuff that kind of enhances the broadcast. I mean, nowadays, if we go to a broadcast and there's no scoreboard, I get emails galore just because they're so used to it now. And it's so nice to be able to see what is going on in the game, time, your 25-second clock, all that fun stuff. So it's taken a lot of work on my end, but it's really been the kids pushing to try to make the next big thing happen. And so that's been the exciting thing. I've just tried to let them like, what do you guys want to do? What do you want to see? I think that's kind of been the biggest impact for me, and getting up to 50 plus kids now is letting them kind of take ownership of it, take control, and let them expand. And they've had some wild ideas. And I'm like, you guys are crazy, but we'll try it out. And
Yeah.
we've had a lot of success, but we've had some ups and downs. Mike's muted when they need to be, like sideline reporters we've added in the last 2 years. And there's sometimes it's just nothing. And so it takes three kids basically to all be on the same page to make sure that that mic gets unmuted, that the mic's plugged in on the camera side, and then it even gets to our broadcast in the first place. So it's good to see them take ownership of it. There's still lots of things they need to learn, but we're in our fourth official year as a program, and it's taken off really faster than I ever thought it would.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, you put in the notes, letting students really take over and empower them and giving them those creative ideas and letting them try it. And it's okay to fail. That's part of why, you're in education, right?
Yep.
And then you also mentioned everything's not going to always go smoothly, which there's always something, especially this is a free service or it's an educational experience for these students. They're not professionals. We
Right.
want to get them there, right? So there's going to be things that little hiccups, especially if you have 13 students. That takes a lot of prep and a lot of time, a lot of reps to get everyone on the same page, I'm sure.
Yeah, and most of the time we start them on a wide shot or tight shot. And then as they evolve, I'm fortunate enough, especially when we get into basketball season here in the winter, we've got freshman, JV, and varsity games all on the same night. So we don't do the freshman game. We let the huddle cam take over that. But JV games, they're starting their broadcast. I got student announcers on it. They're learning new positions. And so JV games aren't always the prettiest. And the bad thing is, that's the first thing people see when they get on their YouTube. But that's all right. Most of the time, they're scrubbing forward till they get to the varsity game anyway. But that's where I let them do a lot of practice. They get a lot of reps this winter, the basketball season, and it's really fun to see them by the end of basketball season. I mean, I wish I could flip flop football season and basketball season because then we'd have some really good football broadcasts. But like I said, now I'm in the fourth year. I've had kids repeat and continue in the program, and so I'd say this year's probably been the best football broadcast that we've had, really broadcast overall in general that we've ever had. So it's been exciting to see.
Yeah, yeah, those reps stack on top of each other. I know it's hard. You have summer and then you come in and you're wanting that production level to be right there, and sometimes it takes a game
Yep.
or two to get rolling. You mentioned communicating. How do you think, you have 13 students part of a broadcast. What have you seen, as far as a student perspective, has helped them improve their communication skills being part of a crew of that big?
Just having to communicate in general, whether that's, hey, I need this camera in this certain spot, or you're sideways, or we need to adjust this, that, or the other. Having to communicate kind of in that professional language has helped a lot. And then just kids having to talk to one another. They talk to each other on social media and all that other stuff, but having to either be face to face or on comms talking to one another, trying to all work together because that kid needs to push a button when I'm pushing this button. The communication piece and even pre games while we're in the classroom setting up, we've got a huge spreadsheet that has all of our schools, logos, colors, and they're typing in rosters. They have to be able to communicate, hey, I'm going to do the first 50, you're going to do the next 50. And I obviously have student announcers, and I've been blessed. I will never be too upset if I ever get less than what I've got now because I mean they are stellar students, and I had one kid come in the very first year kind of knock it out of the park. And since then, that bar's been set, and everyone has tried to meet it and reach it. And so I got fortunate that I kind of landed that spot. But I've had a lot of success stories just on the announcer side. But I mean, there's kids that are been in kindergarten or elementary nonverbal or not being able to speak very well, and they come in here and I mean they chat on comms all the time, and you're like, what in the world? And I mean, I've got 4 or 5 success stories just like that that have one kid went from nonverbal and up till third grade to he was doing a JV basketball play by play.
Wow.
So it was just incredible, and it was fun to it was a student with an IEP, and it was fun to listen to the IEP meeting because the teachers that were around me, I'm like, this is not the same kid that I know. He's talking all
Mm,
the time. He's very vocal. Like he's enjoying what he's doing. Where some of his other core classes, he was a little more intimidated. And so it was really, really neat to see him develop into that. And he went on to college and worked at Evangel for a little while as well on their broadcast team. So it was neat to see. But those are the kind of success stories. I had another announcer that his mom worked for the district, and she goes, I know he'd be really good at this. And I was like, okay, I don't know him, but I'll go find him. So I saw him in the hallway one day, and I was like, hey, I hear you maybe want to announce. And he goes, absolutely not. I mean, straight face, nothing. And I was like, okay, fair enough. Well, good to talk with you.
yeah.
And a month later, he comes back and he goes, you know what? I think I want to try it. And I was like, all right, let's do it. So threw him on a JV broadcast. And then his junior and senior year, he was color commentator. And honestly, he was only color commentator because the other guy we had was just even better than him. And they knocked it out of the park. He went on to college and is still announcing. That's what he wanted
Nice.
to get his career in. And he does a good job. Gets to do some college football games for a local university around here. So it's pretty special to see those kids move on and still be involved in something production related. And even if it's not production related, the skills they're learning here are phenomenal for any career. Just having to talk, having to work together to make this big production that we have. look and feel like a ESPN or ABC Fox production. So the community has been very supportive, and when those kids walk around, I mean, they get texts and emails that I get all the time, and I'm reminding them of it. We'll go out and about in the community. They're like, "Hey, you're the guy in the broadcast," so they think they're hot stuff, but it's fun to see them.
Yeah, a lot of we hear that from schools. The content creators in the school are just as popular as the athletes now
Mm-hmm.
because of the things that they can do to help promote the sports. Like that has really transformed over the last couple years. So I love those stories. We love hearing those. They're happening all over the country, and it's really great to hear that happening at Nixa as well. So appreciate you sharing that. One thing I wanted to ask for you and just the structure of your program. A lot of our viewers might not be familiar. You're new to our community, and if they're watching this, do you have a class structure? Are you guys a club? What has that looked like for you in building that over the last 4 years?
Yeah, so we started out as a club. The very first year, like I said, we had someone in the district office just running a camera back and forth, no announcer. And I was my junior year in high school. I actually went to the rival school that I teach at now. And they started a program my junior year, so I kind of got to learn from the ground level what it might take to do. And so then did that my senior year, helped out a few more years while I was at college, then landed the job with the rival school. And I'm like, where in the world is this? Like, you guys are missing out. That students should be running this stuff and getting this experience, real world experience that they can then give back to the community. I think that's one of the biggest things that, especially in education, we're not always very good at giving back to our community. Most of the communities we have are very giving to us, but we don't always have something that we can be like, hey, here you go. Yeah, so we have a class structure. It started out as a club. We've had now 4 years as a class. We started out with one section. I had 30, probably not even 30 kids my first year, probably 20. And then we got it to grow to 30. Could have had another section, but just the way the schedule worked out, admin wasn't quite sure on it yet. And so then
Mhm.
the last 2 years, we've had two sections, both seated. And then this year, we changed a little bit. So we have some advanced kids in a virtual section, and then I've got a seated section. And so those kids are required to do 12 events throughout the semester. And
Got it.
so most of them, once they get started, I'll have them do more than 12. We ended up doing about 160 events last year. Some of them are just away games where I'm sending kids on the bus and they're doing their own thing. But I'd say probably half of those were full productions where we had a full crew, 13 kids. So we stay busy. I keep the kids busy, but most of them enjoy it. But that's how the structure was. It was started as a club. I showed that there was enough interest in it to make it a class. And so it's been Nick's is a core driven school, so electives aren't always given the glory they really
Mhm.
should get. And so it was a little bit of a battle, but I was willing to take that on and continue to push for it and push for it. And then now we've seen the results, and
Yeah.
everyone's a fan of it now. So,
I was going to say, anytime an admin or school board's going to hear from the community, wow, look at the work that these students are doing. How can they not, support you in that? So, and that's what I love about a school doing live broadcasting. We've had several schools say this, that it's the most public thing that the school does is this production because it hits so many people in the community and, across the country,
yeah,
world, really. You're bringing in viewers that have connections to your high school. So that's really cool.
yeah, we've had mainly parents, but they'll message me and be like, "Hey, I'm in Japan tonight watching the game." There's one guy at a bar in Japan, and he had it on. People were asking, like, "What is this?" So they end up putting it on the TV there because they're like, "This is impressive. This is high school." So it was neat to see that. So got a picture with all the people around him there with the game on, and the community now, our local restaurant and stuff will put it on. We've got a food court, food hall type thing here that's
Hmm.
pretty new. And that's the only thing they have on their TVs on Friday. So I'm like, man, we are knocking out
Wow.
the national broadcast. Not that there's a whole lot of sports on Friday night, but I'm like, hey, I'll take it. So pretty neat. And
Yeah.
the student announcers' voices are on there, so they're going through the whole entire place. And so when I told them that and sent them a video, they're like, this is pretty impressive. We're excited. So and
Yeah.
that holds them
Great
more accountable
impact.
to a higher level to make sure that they are doing everything they need to do pregame. Something I didn't mention earlier with those announcers. Something I told them, I'm like, you guys are crazy, and then it came back to get me. They are like, we want to call the away coach, and I'm like, two high
Oh,
school kids. That head coach is not going to want to talk to two high school kids from the opposing school. I'm like, but fine. If you want to try to reach out to them, find a way to connect. We do that every week now. And
wow.
it's impressive. And there's been times they've been on the phone for an hour plus. I'll have to write them a pass the next hour because they're still on the phone with the coach. And I think most of the coaches around here have realized, like, if I talk to these kids, they are going to be a lot more appreciative of the team or the opposing team. And I constantly get people from the community like, you guys are Nixa fans. You need to be more homer to us. But I'm like, yeah, these kids are talking to the away coach and learning their
Mhm.
philosophies and what's going on there. They don't want to disrespect them. And so, yeah, I mean, that's something I'm like, no high school coach is going to want to talk to you two. Like, they very rarely even have to talk to the media. And then let alone now
Wow.
you're talking to them and they're writing notes and they get on huddle with the football team and kind of get some notes and ideas on what that coach is familiar with and likes. And so they spend a lot of time. We went to LTN Global in Kansas City one year. We had a basketball tournament up there, and they told us for every hour that an announcer's on the air, they're spending 8 hours of prep work. And I'm like,
Whoa.
well, we don't have that time for sure. But I'm like, if you guys just put in a little effort, I mean, you're going to see the rewards. And so it's been exciting to see. But yeah, it's also the community's like, hey, you guys need to be Nixa Homer. Homer, Homer, Homer. I'm like, well, there's a reason why they're not.
Huh?
They also talk to
The-
that coach and get some respect. And so that kind of goes back to that communication. Like they have most of them have no communication with someone of that kind of caliber or level. And now they're having to do an interview with them and show them respect and get information. And I mean, some of the coaches are more than willing to share a whole bunch of stuff with them that they
Yeah.
now can't go back and say, hey, they're going to do this, this, and this.
Yeah.
I'm like, you guys have to hold on to that stuff and you have to keep it to yourself. You can put it in your
Yep.
notes, you can talk about it on broadcast, but you also have to be respectful of that other team and coach. And so it's been neat to see.
That's phenomenal. That just enhances your broadcast so much more to have those insights and to be able to reference that during the game. That's what you see on Saturdays and
Mm-hmm.
Sundays.
Yep.
The broadcasters are meeting with coaches and players to get those little insights to share throughout the game and taking notes. That's phenomenal. I think a
Yeah.
lot of people are going to find value in that, and we'll see if some other schools take up that challenge.
Yep.
Shifting gears a little bit, advertising, is that something you guys do there or have thought about, or does the school allow you to do that?
So that's an interesting topic because I'm a business marketing teacher.
Yeah.
And so this is a marketing class, technically. I mean,
Okay.
everything we do inside of it is marketing based. Like you're promoting your teams, you're promoting your facilities. But advertising, we do zero. And it drives me a little bit crazy. But we've made some things work. So how Nixa works, we've got someone at district office who does everything advertising through the entire district. And so they're fundraising for the new turf we got, which I'm sure you can see there on the background. It is gray. And I'm like,
Nice.
what in the world are we doing getting gray? But it's starting to grow on me. There's enough red in there to make
It
it look
kind of it
pretty.
probably doesn't pop on camera, right? Is
Yeah,
that
it's really pretty weird on camera.
yeah.
So if you ever watch a broadcast, you're like, are they playing on concrete? But we just added the new color changing lights, and so gray looks wonderful with the color changing lights. And so it's
In
kind
the
of
stadium?
yeah, the stadium
Yeah,
lights.
the stadium
Yeah, the
lights do the
color changing, all
oh
that fun
cool.
stuff, which is something our kids get to do. They run the video board
Nice.
and also click the lights, and I just every week I'm just like, don't turn off the lights, don't turn off the lights in the middle of play. And so
Yeah,
far they've been
right.
on. I'm like, don't click the wrong button. But so yeah, it's advertising through Nixa. Like I said, they do everything. So we are told the sponsors that we have to put up.
Oh, okay.
And all of that kind of stuff. And so, how I kind of manipulate that and still trying to get the education side of it for the kids
Hmm.
is yes, we can't go out and sell. but I can still have those kids go out and talk to those businesses.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so what we do is we'll have a handful of kids, usually my upperclassmen, that kind of understand the process of what's going on. We'll actually all have them communicate with whatever that sponsor is and be like, hey, here's the number of viewers we had this night. Here's the number of times your commercial was played. Here's what it looks like. We can send screenshots to them of what we've done. And so the advertiser gets now feedback instead of just saying, hey, we need your money. Here's a logo. Here's a slide. They can kind of
Love
see
that.
these are some of the benefits. So we tie it in that way since we can't go sell them directly. And like I said, I feel like that's the best way I've been able to make it work.
Hmm.
And they still get a lot of benefit from it. They're having to send professional emails. They're having to talk to people that they're not used to talking to. Especially, it's not a lot of fun when we do a broadcast and we forgot a sponsor. And so
Mm.
the kids are having to email. And I usually, for something like that, I'll email the person before and be like, just a heads up, this was not played tonight. And most of the sponsors understand what's going on and are okay with it. But I'm like, you're more than welcome to be a little rough with that kid just so they get that experience. Like,
Yeah.
and I tell them afterward, I'm like, look, I already emailed that person. They were aware, and they'll usually tell them before they end the conversation, hey, this is what it would be like in the real world. I'm not upset with you, but I just wanted you to get that experience. And so we've had some kids just kind of eye opening.
Nice.
The next broadcast, guess what? They made sure that graphic was up there. So
Absolutely.
we've tried to make that marketing side of things work to our benefit as much as possible. I think the sponsors appreciate that more than just a kid going in there with some
Yeah.
nonchalant, scared to death message, hoping that they will give money, which they probably would have anyway. So that's the best thing I've been able to find without
Yeah.
being able to
I
sell
like it.
anything.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's very creative. So the district is the one that's going out and acquiring the advertising. You
correct.
guys still are showing ads and graphics and things like that during your
Yeah,
broadcast, but it's
yeah.
not student led as far as
Correct.
advertising
Yeah,
goes.
the
Okay.
selling point. What we have
Yeah.
done, for instance, like this year, we've added a highlight reel at the end of the game. Right now, it's
Nice.
not sponsored, but we find
Got it.
things like, hey, this is something that could be sponsored in the
Yeah.
future. We'll usually put our title sponsor on there just so there's an example. And then we'll
Yep.
send to that person at district office, and they're like, hey, this is another sponsorship opportunity we can get thrown out there. And that's been something that's been very successful on
Nice.
Sundays because high school, there's not anything going on Sundays. Everyone's on social media,
Mm.
the NFL, this, that, and the other. We'll put that highlight reel on from football that Sunday, and the viewership we get has been much higher than we expected. Just because,
Yeah.
and it lets us have another day. We just schedule it out, and it gets posted, and we don't have to worry about it. And people like it and get to see kind of a recap of what happened that night. And so that's been a new thing we've been trying, and we've
Cool.
kind of evolved it throughout this year. It went from just a replay going over and over again to now we've added a transition and a graphic, and that's all as we get stuff going. And now we're like, hey, this is sponsorshipable. We know it works. We know we can do it. Go get a sponsorship for us that we can make happy and get
Love
us
it.
something out of it. But
Yeah. Okay, I want to close with this.
yep,
If you can kind of in your head explain, I know a lot of people watching would be really frustrated with me if I didn't ask you about the equipment that you have. You've got the screens going in the background. We talked about it before we started recording. So can you share with us, you talked about the transition starting with one camera to where you're at now, but kind of give us a breakdown of the hardware that you have, and I think that would be super valuable
yep,
to the schools and teachers watching, just to kind of give them an idea.
absolutely, yep. So all of our cameras, these are really just replays from last night. It's not live,
Yeah.
obviously. It's morning time and it's dark outside. But we do a wide shot, tight shot, three wireless cameras, which we use the Asun Eyes, I think is what they're called. They've been very good for us. Their point of view, as long as you keep the window clear, and we have just
Yep.
open our windows of the press box. I mean, they've been top notch for us. Fairly inexpensive. The camera's more expensive, honestly. We use Sony's for all of our
Okay.
cameras. We've got kind of a mix of Sony's. I'm not sold on one thing or another with them. We've just been fortunate enough, I tried to stay as small as possible. I don't know what the brand or model of Sony that we have is, but we use monopods for those wireless because I learned the first couple of years kids cannot handle it on their shoulders.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
if
it's
they just
hard.
try to hold on to it, it is all over the place. Even with monopods back here, you can see they're not always the smoothest. But soccer crew last night, I've had, I think, 7 freshmen on it. And so wasn't our smoothest one, but hey, they're learning, and that's all right. So we use that. Everything we do runs NDI, so it's all through our school network. And then when
Nice.
we go on the road, we have our own network that we take along. If the school provides internet for us, great. If not, we'll cellular bond and make it work and as best as possible. Like tonight's an example of that they're not letting us have internet, so we're going to cellular bond and just keep our fingers crossed all night and hope it works. So what you see behind me is VMix. We started with the TriCaster. It broke at the beginning of this year. We had this for replay is what we were planning on using it for. So now it's replay and our actual broadcast. And when I first got it, I was not a fan at all. And I've really started to, it's grown on me a lot, and I've been very happy with it. It's been very fairly easy to use. It's just different than the TriCaster was.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's really all your sources back there that you can see, and then you're clicking through it. We don't have a switcher like we used to. We used to have a big video switcher. So we're using a Stream Deck and an iPad right now
Oh, okay.
to make it work. I don't know if you can see it. That's the little Stream
Yeah,
Deck right
yeah, I see
there.
the Stream Deck. Yeah.
And it's got preview program, got channels 1 through 8 on there,
Cool.
and then it's got fade and all that stuff. The iPad lets us use a T-bar fader on it because the kids think that putting the flag up over the band or whatever it is halfway is the best thing ever because that's what they see in the main big broadcast.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm like, well, we can't do that right now, but so we found an iPad that allowed us to get that T-bar back, so they're happy.
Nice.
They're off me. So just little things. It's the graphics we use is singular.live,
Okay.
and it's all a web-based platform. It's like I said, we've put a lot of work into spreadsheets where all the team logos, all the colors are on there. So we changed 2 cells, and that gives us the logos, colors, all that fun stuff through all of our graphics packages. Um, let's see.
And I want to mention, so you may have heard, which is totally fine, the cars driving by. You are in a truck. You're
Yeah,
not in a
like
classroom. So yeah, maybe
show
you can
you
give us a
around a little bit.
tour or
So yeah,
maybe a
that's our
photo.
production truck right there. This was a blood truck that they used to drive around, and we happened to snatch it when they were selling it. And then COVID happened, and so it came to my driveway, and I gutted the thing out
No
while I
way.
wasn't teaching or really doing anything, and so we made it what it looks like today. So yeah, we'll do this on the road. For basketball, we'll take it inside and get it all set up in the gym. We've got a nice little setup. It's still kind
Nice.
of in progress, and I can send you some pictures too of that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
But yeah, our been very fortunate with our IT department. They got us all set up with the school network, which I don't have a lot of network background, but since we run all NDI cameras, I've got a lot more network background now than I ever thought I would. Um, but that was kind of the struggle at first, was trying to figure out if the school would let us get on the NDI train because it
Mm,
was fairly new 5 years ago. There were little things that was about to drive me crazy, and I was about ready to switch it all over. But nowadays, we've got all of our settings fixed and changed, and
nice.
I wish I could tell you it was just plug in Ethernet and smooth. But I mean, you guys, if you've done this at all, you know how it is. Even sometimes an HDMI cable doesn't work for you.
Right.
um, and so even if it's worked the last 100 times, you just never know.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got this truck and do it all NDI, but our network guys weren't a huge fan of us when we first got started. Our director of technology was a big fan. He'd actually watch the football games in the stands and have his phone on watching our broadcasts for like replay purposes and stuff.
Yeah.
So he loved what we did. So he sat us all down together and said, hey, what do we need to do to make this program happen and function? And we
Nice.
could do it without the support of the school on the network. But it just makes it a lot easier. Like I can pull up a camera from our performance or our theater right now. I can put a camera district office, plug it in, and then I
Yeah.
have a signal across the entire campus, and they're clear on the other side of the city
Beautiful.
walls. And so some IT networks, like our rival school, even they can't get plugged in for their own stuff. So I
Mm,
understand we're very fortunate here to be able to have that support from them, and that's been a huge blessing as well. But you can do it without. It just takes a little more time and effort. I mean, even the stuff that we've done, I've had to run cables, fiber cables to and from different places just so that we have a connection. And that's what we'll do for away games as well. We'll run a
yeah.
fiber cable, and we've got the Netgear AVI line or AV line
Yep.
switches. We used to use Ubiquity, but found these. They've got
Yeah.
10 gig now. We were
Yep.
running typically it's a 6 camera show with graphics and all that still on NDI spots. So it was usually about 8 NDI sources.
Okay.
We were starting to get choppy on our 1 gig switch, just because we were sending so much and trying to get replays. So it was sending the full quality through. So this year we were able to upgrade to the 10 gig switches, and
Nice.
it's amazing what
Yeah.
10 times the bandwidth will do for you.
Yeah.
So
We
our
just hooked up
glitchiness,
another school with that.
yeah,
That's a great product.
it's been a great thing. And I've reached out to a few different places. They've got education discounts through Netgear too. So if
Yep.
you're interested in that, definitely go through some reps and find some resources and find the discounts you can get. But yeah,
Awesome.
it's a fun little setup. Very appreciative of the administration and school letting me do that and take these kids. Like we'll leave at noon today. The game starts at
Okay.
7. So
Okay.
we'll leave at noon. It's about an hour
Wow.
and a half. We'll feed the kids on the way up there.
You're like the football team
Yeah,
getting
I mean,
ready for
honestly,
the
and
game.
we're there.
Yeah.
And when we go to the restaurant, they're like, "What are you guys like? Who are you?" We're like, "We're the live stream crew for the football." We're like, "Well, that's awesome." So it's kind of neat. Most of them have their little polos and
I see
IDs,
that.
media badges, which I would encourage all of us to get, just because it makes the
Yep.
kids feel a little more important.
Absolutely.
And they get to walk around and think they're hot stuff again. And when you're actually at a game, especially an away game, and people don't know who you are, they can just show this and be like, okay, I've seen that 9 times walk through the entrance. They going somewhere for a reason. And so it's been very useful and successful. Something else we do to kind of motivate kids, since we don't pay them, we let them get a
Yeah.
free item from the concession stand. Our athletics department runs the concession stand, and we obviously help athletics quite a bit with what we do. And
Yeah.
so that's another little incentive that we try to get them. So they get there early, they get their item, and then I put them to work. So
Absolutely. That's great. Well, this has been an absolute joy to learn about your program. I know everyone watching, there's some really great nuggets. Probably going to have to watch this again. And we look forward to just continuing to work with you, Jordan, learning more about your program and hopefully getting more schools to empower their students like you're doing down in Nixa. So good luck tonight.
yeah, thanks. And if anybody ever want to watch, Nixa Public Schools YouTube channel, that's where we stream all our stuff too. So
Awesome. Yeah, Jordan's in the community, Future Ready Educators community as well, and in our broadcast education program. If you're not a part of that, you can click the link below, and we'd love to have you be a part of that with our certifications, our student broadcast playbook, and more to come, and some great tools and resources. So thanks, Jordan. Appreciate you.
yep, absolutely. Thank you guys.